All right, everybody, welcome to another edition of Friedman Adventures. Always good to have you with us. Before we get going, I want to remind you all to go to www.friedmanadventures.com. You can find out how you can join us on some trips. We're going to be fishing all year long, as well as follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and find out where you can listen to the show. I'm here with my son, Philip. It's good to see you, and it's good to see no dip spitting thing. Are you quitting today?
I'm trying again, man. It's
trying. You're going to do it.
I'm quitting, yeah. One day at a time. I'm not dipping today.
One day at a time.
Exactly.
Just got to make it through the day today, right?
Exactly.
All right, good. Hey, I'm really excited because I go back a long way with this guy. He is a remarkable guy. He's accomplished a lot. He's a good friend, and he can talk about bait fishing, long-range fishing, local fishing. Paul Strasser, good to see you, my friend.
Nice for having me, Phil.
How the hell are you?
We're doing good. We're doing good. Been very busy lately.
How's the life been treating you? Good?
Life's been treating me good. I'm healthy. I feel good. And we're getting a lot accomplished and doing a lot of things in the sport fishing world. Behind the scenes now, especially.
Excellent. Well, we'll get into all that. You know what, Strasser? I know why you're successful in this business. And it manifested itself a week ago. And you're thinking, what the hell is he talking about?
What's he talking about?
Yeah. So we got this intern, this kid from China. You met him, Alex,
Yes,
right?
yes.
How many times have you gone fishing? How many times have you shown somebody how to fish? How many times have you shown somebody to tie a knot? Your day off, you walk down here, you see the kid down on the dock trying to cast. From afar, you see this, and what do? You walk down and start giving him instructions on how to cast. Then the lure breaks off. You go up and get him a brand new lure. Then you show him how to tie a double San Diego, I think.
Right.
You went through that whole thing.
Yeah.
I mean, you absolutely, obviously love this whole thing. And you love to be a teacher. I could see that.
Yeah, I like to. My theory is if you teach someone how to fish, they'll eat forever.
Right.
And I mean, I see someone like that, and this is very important to them to learn the right way. And I just hate seeing someone not knowing how to do it right when I could spend 5 minutes of my life and they'll affect them their whole life on how to tie that knot, for instance. I mean, there's 3 or 4 knots. Once they know those 3 or 4 knots, that's all you really need to know, you know. But anyways, go ahead.
Yeah, and if you're looking for somebody who doesn't know how to do things right, you found him, Alex.
Oh yeah.
He's
Well,
our
I
intern.
didn't know that. I could.
Just kidding, Alex.
I see it when I see a guy cast. It's like a professional golfer. When he see a swing, he knows how to fix it. And I was just trying to do something. It was fun. I like teaching. I haven't been doing it lately, but when I'm on the boat, for instance, I like going down there and casting people out, showing them how to tie the knots, and start them. Like if I see something not done right, we'll start them from scratch. We'll cut them off from basic. We'll do the Tony Pena. We'll do the fluorocarbon to the mono, then the mono to the hook. And and then we'll go through how to hook the bait, how to throw the bait, what to do, the do's and don'ts, just to get them started.
You picked up on those knots. Are those the 4 knots you think you need to know just for this? You'll be set?
Well, nowadays you need a very important knot is mono to spectra.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I like the Tony Pena, for instance, and then your mono to fluoro. I like the we used to call it the Seaguar Knot. 1, 2, 3, pull it through, and these are all proven knots, and I mean proven. We pulled on a lot of many 100 to 300 pound tuna with these knots and never broke. And then obviously you got a double San Diego, you got a Joe Miller, and you have the Palomar. But you have 3 or 4 knots from mono to the hook. Depends on the size fish, type of bait, how smart are the fish that particular day. We've been catching these bluefin lately. Bluefin are a lot smaller, so you want a very strong, small knot. Catching the bigger yellowfin tuna, the knot still should be small, but it can be a little bit larger. They're not as smart as the bluefin. But you need 4 to 5 knots. Will get you through this whole life of fishing. Then you can tweak it with other knots that you.
I hope you realize you're creating all kinds of work for yourself, because at the end of this podcast, you're going to be over there tying those 4 knots. Okay. You're not one of those captains who stays in the wheelhouse, are you? You like to come out and see. Some guys shut the door. Yeah. You know how that is. Yeah. And it's like, who the hell is running this thing? You don't even know. But obviously, you love people. I can see that.
Yeah. I started. I got my captain's license when I was 19, and I started the El Nino of '83. Was my first year on the boat.
That's a hell of a year to start.
That was a good year to start, and that got me down in the bait tank. I like the bait tank. I like to get on the tank and chum and make sure the baits are good. And I was educated by probably one of the best deckhands ever heard of.
Who's that?
John Putman. John grew up in the 30s. and then World War II, he was a U.S. Coast Guard. But John was a deckhand, a professional deckhand, never got a license, and he taught me, my partner, and other deckhands that we worked with.
Mark Paisano.
Mark Paisano, yes.
Yeah.
Me, Mark, and a few of the other close-knit guys on the Sport King. John was a crew member, and he taught us a lot of goods and bads and the do's and the don'ts, and got us started.
Is he one of your biggest mentors? Would you call him?
John's one of many.
Yeah.
In the actual fishing, sport fishing deckhand world, yes.
Russ Iser? Would he be up
Iser,
there?
when it comes to Russ, was definitely in the business world of Iserline, running boats. Russ was an excellent charter boat captain. He was one of the guys that got on the deck with his little Dr. Fisherman and showed people how to take hooks out of calico bass properly, showed the people the knots. He was a more hands-on guy with the passenger.
Yeah.
So John was an educator when it comes to do's and don'ts and what to do, and Russ was the kind of guy who came down and showed me and Mark and stuff as a young age how to get involved with the passenger, one-on-one with the passenger.
Yeah.
We ran open party boats for a lot of years. And running open party boats, it gets tiring when you're taking 70 to 80 people every day, day in and day out. And there's many, I'm not going to lie, there's many days where you do like to close the door and you do like to lay down for an hour or two, and you open the door and you see, are they still biting? Yeah, they're still biting. Okay, if they're not biting, let's move the boat. That happened a lot in our career. I mean, I started in 83, and I ran boats the half day, 3/4 day. We tens of thousands of people fishing. But then there are times when the fish are biting, and you get right when the fish start biting, you get on the tank. I mean, I remember months and months fishing those yellowtail at the oil rigs back in 84, 85, 86.
Man, those were fun days.
And me and Mark after we built the first string, we ran that boat, and I remember we had so many people. We had 100 people every day for months and months. Every day, 100 people. Going to the oil rigs, the first thing I did was after I anchored the boat, jump on the bait tank, and I was in charge of the bait tank, dishing out the sardines to the people, and I let the crew organize the passengers because it was full speed. I don't think people understand when we were hanging these yellowtail up the side of the boat, the first thing they did was take the people to the stern. So you'd have everybody in the stern that belonged there, but then you had another 15, 20 people getting rid of those people because they have hooked fish.
Yeah.
I mean, it was chaos, and that was mayhem for a lot of years.
What grade of fish were those in
Those
days?
were the good ones. Those were 15 to 20 pounders. They were real yellows. They would rock you immediately. They weren't the kind where you hook them, they run, and then you just wind them to the boat over a period of time. These things, you hooked them, and they would go. They would go right to the pilings.
I don't know if you remember, but I had you out there as a kid. Do you remember that? No? We went with Bob Alvarez on his.
I do remember that, yes.
Yeah, and I caught a big yellow, and I wrestled it away from a sea lion. Yep. All the guys on the rigs
I remember specifically looking down in the water, and it looked like that seal was carrying it like a football. It had it like between its fins, and I remember that looking at that as a kid going, that's bitching.
Yeah. The thing about a yellowtail is when they first move, let's say this is a piling of an oil rig.
Yeah.
When they first move into the area, this is part of their home. After the week or 2 weeks or a month that they've been living here, it's hard to get them away from home. They bite a bait out here, and they go right to the house and rock you. That's why they're the toughest fish to catch.
Wow, they are tough. So okay, let's talk about how you stop. How do you stop that yellowtail? What do you fish heavy line? What if you can't get a bite on heavy line?
Well, you fish. Well, you got if you're fishing around structure, you got to go heavy.
Okay, so
40-pound.
you
minimum.
need to really
minimum.
take your time and choose a good hot bait. Is that number one?
In sport fishing in general, it's all about bait selection. Bait selection is everything. The biggest problem I have with passengers when they're not getting bites, I watch the way they handle the bait, and 99% of it is finding out which bait is the best one in the well, swimming, never touching his nose, no red nose, seeing which one has the best scales. Try to catch the one that's the hardest one to catch. Once you got him on there, try not to get him moving. If he jumped on the deck, don't pick him back up. And get another hot bait. It's all about bait selection. Is everything.
It's really important. And then also when you select your bait, you don't want to squeeze it.
No. Make sure your hand's always dry. Never pick a bait up with a dry hand. Never squeeze it. Just gently. The fish is just gentle in your hand. Close his eye. If you can cover his eyeball with your thumb or your index finger, because then if he can't see, he won't move around as much. And once you got the hot bait on there and you get it out away from the boat, that's everything. And people go, man, Paul, how'd you do that? You just threw one bait out. You got a bite. It's all about bait selection. What I always like to do when I got a boat full of passengers and the fish are biting somewhat, I like to get a bait, get on the hook, get them out there. Here you go. Next, get another bait. And before you know it, you have 4, 5, 6, 8 guys out there with by that time, one of those guys are already hooked up. And it's just funny. I like to get 4, 5, 6 guys out there with baits I threw out. Next thing you know, those 4 or 5 guys are bit. And I go, hey, my boys are bit, but that's
And you feel like a successful teacher at that time, right?
You did, and then the main thing now at this point is showing them, the pastor, how to do exactly what you just did.
Exactly, right? And then they feel like they're and then they're hooked too, right?
And they're hooked, and then next year when they're on the boat, we carry a lot of regulars on here and down in San Diego, a lot of regulars on the Independence. So then the next year they come out, now they can do it themselves.
Yeah.
Then they're hooked, and you start on all over again.
That's awesome. How did you get interested initially in fishing? What opened the door? Was it a parent?
Let's start in 1976. We took a drive to Alaska. My dad went camping. We bought a 19-foot Lazy Days motorhome. Spent 41 days. Drove the Alcan Highway back when it used to be when it was all dirt, 1,600 miles. And on this trip, my dad was never really a rod and reel fisherman. And on this trip, we did bring fishing poles, and we had a couple.
Was he a commercial guy or something?
My dad was U.S. Customs.
Oh, okay.
Okay. And on this particular trip, we had a few lakes that we fell into, and we caught some dolly varden, and I was hooked. When I got home, my mom goes, "Hey, your neighbor down the street loves to fish."
How old were you now?
I was 13.
Okay.
And then our neighbor down the street loved to fish, so me and him hung out together. We fished on the breakwater, and then my buddy, we found one of my friends in high school, in elementary school, knew a friend that worked on the Sport King. So we went down to the Sport King, bought a ticket in the morning trip, and then they said in the afternoon we probably ride for free if we pick up trash and help clean the boat.
Oh, I remember that day. It's such a great. Isn't that a great? Like you felt like you died and went to heaven, right? As a kid.
Yeah. So in the morning we caught a bunch of mackerel. In the afternoon we got to ride the boat for free, picked up the trash and scrubbed, and then the next day the guy goes, "Hey, if you want to come back out, you can do it again."
That's awesome.
So that's where it started. I quit my Noose Pilot paper route and started fishing.
Yeah, and it led to just a great career. Now, let's talk about. Hey, I want to ask you one thing about the Monte Carlo. Is this? I've heard this rumor that when you and Mark Paisano saw the boat, you liked it so much that you took the for sale sign and you ditched it. Is that true? So nobody else could see it.
This is a true story. This is how we found the Monte. We heard about the boat being for sale. Remember now, me and Mark were on that first string. We have never took the same day off in, I think, over 2 years. 88, 85, probably 2 to 3 years. One of us were always on the boat.
Wow.
Well, it was one winter day. It might have been January. Let's see here. Probably December, I think. It was a December that it was kicked around that this beautiful boat called the Monte Carlo might be for sale, and we're getting in a position. We're thinking about trying to buy our own boat together. And so one day we jumped in our car. We drove up to Ventura Harbor. I got a ticket. I ran a little stop sign in the middle of the rain. So anyways, we see the boat, and the Monte Carlo just sitting there with the little for sale sign on the back of it. And, wow, cool. We walked on the boat. We opened up the engine room hatch. We walked into the boat. Nobody was there. We walked to the engine room, walked through the galley, and looked at the whole thing over, and was really impressed. And we said, "Man, let's take that sign off." All right, let's take the sign off. Just we don't want no one else to look at this boat, So we took the sign off, called the owner a week later, and went up there with me and Mark. I believe me and Frank Hall went up here. Frank Hall, who owned the landing at the time. We drove up there and we looked through the whole boat. And then the week later, me and Mark went up there again, and we made a deal. We made it work.
That's awesome.
And we brought that boat down here in 1988.
Wow, and it's still going strong, right? It's a nice fishing platform, nice and roomy.
Oh yeah,
I love that boat.
75-foot Drake. We bought this landing never had a half-day boat, and there was rumor that the half-day boat never worked at this landing. And we said, well, that's great to know.
Yeah.
But anyways, we were still running the first string. That was our day job. And then we did we alternated on the Monte Carlo. I did a week, Mark did a week. We did that for 2-3 years. And we made it work. You have to, half-day boat, you just got to run no matter who shows up. 5 people, 10 people, 15 people.
Is that the key?
That's the key with half-day fishing. It's like you have to, because the people on land, they want a guarantee. They don't want to know if you're going to cancel. So I said, we're running no matter what.
Yeah.
And that's what we did.
That's awesome.
And you develop your regulars. And if you have a good operation, good galley cook, good captain, good crew, before you know it, you have 20, 30 people every trip just standing by. And then in the summertime, we carried the big loads.
Yeah, like 80 people. Yeah.
3 trips a day.
That's awesome. Oh, because you're running twilight.
Yeah. I mean, we did this from 88 to we sold the boat, I believe, in 2006. Yeah. After we built but between that boat and the Independence, we had 3 or 4 or 5 other boats involved.
Let's talk a little bit about the independence and long-range fishing, because I love long-range fishing. And so the independence, how did that all come about? I mean, that must have been a lot of work, right?
That's another story.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. We had the Islander, we had the Pursuit, we had the Monte Carlo, we had the Sea Angler. And me and Mark were doing good. We're at 22nd Street Landing, one part of the landing. So we're all starting to breathe now. Okay. We got a lot accomplished in 10 years or 15 years. And all of a sudden, a gentleman who worked at San Pedro Boatyard, the foreman of the yard who loves to build stuff, Australian, he goes, "Hey, mate," he goes, "you and Mark should go to Wilmington. There's a beautiful boat for sale. You know, it's a hull with a house on it. And it's goofy, but you might get it for a cheap price, you know." So we went and took a look at it. And me and Mark just said, "My damn, we could do something with this thing." And John kept, we could do this, we could do that, do this and that. Long story short, we went to the auction, we got the boat, and took us 2.5 years. We cut the bow off it, cut the stern off it, made it, it was 85, we made it 113. And I mean, we basically built the boat, a new boat. We basically used just the whole section. That was it.
2.5 years, I mean, that's a long time, because it's not giving you any income during that time. Were you getting worried, or did you believe in the vision?
Well, 2 people believed in the vision. Well, 3. Me and Mark and the bank.
The 3 most important.
The 3 most important.
Yeah.
Well, remember,
especially that third one, the bank,
third one,
right?
Yeah. The Pursuit, the Islander, and the Monte Carlo were all running, making us income. But then the bank gave us a little line of credit, and they believed in us, because you won't find a bank that did what they did with us.
Really?
And it wasn't like they give us a gang load of money and say, "Have at it." No, they watched over things.
Yeah.
But it took us a year. We spent a year building it in Wilmington, getting it ready to move, because you can't move a boat with a house on it. So it was 19 feet tall. So we're able to move it. You need 19 and a half feet. You go over 19 and a half feet, you have issues with wires.
Yeah.
And it's big dollars. It's like $20,000 a wire. And so at 19 foot, we're able to move the boat. So after a year of doing a lot of work to it, adding the stern, adding the bow, deck plating, bulwarks, the engine room wasn't, we ended up moving the boat from Wilmington, moved it for 1.5 miles to the water, and then Manson picked it up with the crane, 120 tons this thing weighed.
Wow.
We brought it over to the Southwest Marine. And Southwest Marine at the time was basically not out of business, but they still own the property. We leased a piece of property, I believe it was 120 by 50 feet. And we put containers on it and built a big thing, and then we launched the boat. We set it right down and built a yard around the boat.
Wow.
And then the next day, then we installed our engines. Then we started building our house and the bait. Spent another 1.5 years.
That's amazing.
And that's 1.5 years of anywhere from 7 to 13 guys working 6 days a week.
Oh my God. Were you there that whole time?
I was there.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And it was pretty wild. It was really, really wild. And the Islander was running out of San Diego, doing his 2-day, 3-day, 5-day trips.
Yeah.
Pursuit was running. It's 6 a.m. The Monte Carlo, 3 trips a day. That was all going on too while this was going on.
So you had your fingers in all those pies.
Oh yeah, between
Do you still have hair? Because look what happened to me.
I'm still
you're
good.
All right.
Yeah.
What happened?
You don't think about it. But it was a wild ride for years, and then obviously we launched the boat and started our season, started our long range, and it's been 16 years.
Whoa, I can't believe that. That's amazing. Tell us about the boat itself, the amenities. And then I want to get into, when is it time to go from the Monte Carlo or the Pursuit to the Independence as an angler? But first of all, tell us about the capabilities of the boat. I mean, there's people, like Philip says, some of his friends question, why would you be on a boat for 10 days?
They don't understand that it's not a fishing boat. You're basically on a miniature cruise ship.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
What I like about the Independence, and it's not that we own it, but the boat is 34 feet outside guardrail, 29 feet at the chine in the width. When you start going that wide on the ocean, and then being built out of steel, thing weighs 280 ton before you load it with water and fish, okay, and diesel. It holds 17,000 gallons of diesel, by the way. But the boat is so stable, it doesn't rock around. When we're on the boat in the roughest weather, we could have this and it won't fall over, okay? So you're not bouncing around, you're not grabbing for poles, you're not beating yourself up. A lot of boats beat you up. You get off a 3-day trip and you're beat up.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. This, because we have the Islander, and that Islander used to beat you up.
Yeah.
This boat doesn't do that to you. So it's 113 feet long. It's 32 feet wide, basically, at the chine area. We hold 17,000 gallons of fuel. I could basically go to Hawaii if I need to. It has it's got 13 staterooms. We have 6 staterooms downstairs that are 3-passenger staterooms. Now, these staterooms aren't your average little 3 bunks, call it a day. It's 1, 2, it's 3 bunks, but there's a lot of room in these staterooms. We have sinks, closets. They're big rooms. We have 6 3-passenger staterooms downstairs. We have 4 2-passenger staterooms on deck level, and we have 3 2-passenger staterooms in the bow section. We have 7 showers on the boat. We have basically a shower and a bath for every, we have a shower and a restroom for every 3 staterooms.
Wow.
3 of them are downstairs, and upstairs on deck level, we have a shower in a bathroom, and then just a bathroom, because we had issues. See, a lot of these ideas when we built this boat, remember me and Mark put our heads together after the Monte Carlo, Pursuit, Islander, Sea Angler, First String. First String was our number 1 boat we built when we were 20 years old. All these ideas we encapsulated in this Independence. A lot of boats, you go out and you buy a boat, it is what it is. You buy it because that's what they built, the guy who thought about it 20 years ago. This boat we put together from scratch. We wanted booths where you didn't have to clear the whole galley out if you want to get out of the booth. We have one booth like that, but a lot of the other ones, we have easy accessible booths. We have booths built for big guys. Some boats, because I put 300-400-pound guys. I brought them down the boat when I was building my galley. I said, what do you do and don't like about other boats? They said, well, a lot of boats I got to eat sideways. I got to eat here. I can't do this.
I had to do that for many years, yeah.
So I got all these ideas, and I applied it to our boat. The bow section of our boat is made for the really big guys. And we have, and this goes with the whole boat. When it goes to the bunk room, if you're 7 foot, you can sleep in our bunk room. You know, our ceilings are tall. We have a bathroom and a bathroom shower on deck level because when guys taking a shower, they used to take the whole bathroom. Well, on this boat, no. We have a bathroom if you want to use it, and then guys taking a shower can use this too. There's a lot of things like that going on. Upstairs, our staircase and going to the upper deck is not a staircase. It's an actual staircase you have at home where it's really easy and gentle. You can walk up and down with your fishing poles in your hands.
That's great.
And not worry about falling down.
Yeah.
I can.
How about food? What kind of meals are you going to get? Are you going to get in cheeseburgers or?
No. Well, we do have a cheeseburger lunch one day.
I like that.
But we're talking about a cheeseburger that you'd buy at the store for $14.
Yeah.
You know, it's the real deal.
Yeah.
That's one day we'll have that for lunch. But for the most part, I have 2 chefs. Okay, and these guys probably some of the best prime rib you'll have on the boat. We have prime rib, roasted chicken. Our last night, a lot of time will be your flank steak or your filet. We'll have, the food is something out of a restaurant. I'll come home after a 10-day trip. My wife, first thing she wants to go out to dinner. Honey, I've had some of the best lamb chops. You name it. No problem. But
you're never hungry, right?
No, you're never hungry.
Because there's snacks out and hors d'oeuvres and.
You eat your breakfast between 6 and 7. Then you have your soup, your homemade soup at 10. Then you have your lunch between 12 and 1. Then you have your little hors d'oeuvre kind of stuff at 4. And then you have your main course at sundown. And it's we seat 32 people at one time. So you don't have to do first shift, second shift.
Wow.
That's something we learned off the Islander that you had to do because you didn't have enough room in the galleys.
Yeah.
But this galley's so big, it seats 32 people.
God almighty. Yeah. I'd gain 500 pounds if I was on that thing all the time.
Yeah,
Jeez.
it happens.
All right. So I want you to talk to the guy who's out there right now. And he's fished the Monte Carlo, the Pursuit, or, half-day
Right.
boat down in San Diego.
Oh, yeah.
And he's saying to himself, I'm okay with calico bass. I'm pretty good at that. And I can catch a barracuda, and I got a chance with a yellowtail, but my God, I look at the Independence back in it with these tails in the back of the stern, and I don't know if I can do that. What do you say to that guy?
You can do that because sometimes where we take you fishing, the fish are not as smart. Although, fish are smart. But a lot of times we'll go where the fish are really biting. And we've had times where the yellowtail, you'll catch a limit on 10 cast. 20-pounders on jigs, or your yo-yo jigs and stuff. We'll have some good fishing. I've taken so many novice fishermen and exposed them to this kind of fishing where they came home with their limits without an issue.
And they got to just be out of their minds with joy at that point.
Oh, my God. It is so... the thing about people, the half day, the 3/4 day, then they step up to maybe a 1 day or a 2 day trip, 3 day trip.
Yeah.
Jump on one of our 5-dayers. And if you like the operation, the boat, the living on a boat, most people have problems. Can I be on a boat for 5 days or 8 days? Our boat, yes. Some boats, it's like camping. Our boat's like that 38-foot Monarch motorhome driving down the street compared to a guy with a pup tent,
Yeah.
It's really a nice rig that you could actually be on. We have a little library for reading, and we have TVs in every stateroom. I mean, you can live on our boat, and the fishing is really good. And a novice fisherman has no problem on a boat like ours fishing where we're fishing. You just got to get used to, a lot of time we have travel days. Aren't we going to fish yet? No, we have to travel 200 miles to the next spot. That thing about long range, we go long range. We go where the fish are most of the time.
And it's not like you're out there alone. If you're a passenger, you're going to have somebody to explain. Like somebody goes out there and they don't know how to do it. They're not on their own, right?
No, we have seminars. On let's say an 8-day trip, 7-day trip, or any of our trips, we have tackle seminars. Well, the first thing we do after we get going, we'll have a safety seminar, expose everything about the boat, the crew, and the food, and how things work. Now let's say tomorrow's a travel day. Let's say we're not going to fish bluefin the first day. Let's say we have to go down to towards Cedros or fish offshore down below. The next day will be a travel day for the most part, and we'll have a seminar from 9 o'clock to like 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock. And I mean, you learn a lot in these seminars. Our crew gives seminars, get all the rods out there, and how obviously the knot tying, that part of the world will take place upstairs. But a lot of our what to use, how to use it, all that do's and don'ts happen on the boat on the way down. We do a lot of seminars. And another thing I want to point out is our boat is big enough to where you can get away from people if you want to. If you're tired of being around 8 or 9 guys all the time, cramped in close quarters, you can go on the back deck. We have chairs. You can go on the upper deck. The upper deck's 25 feet wide, but it's a huge upper deck. You can go up there and relax. Your stateroom is big. You got TVs in all the staterooms. The galley's huge. We got movies going on. There's something to do. It's like being on a cruise ship. There's something to do somewhere. You don't have to be all in the galley because there's nowhere else to go.
God, this makes me want to go right now, doesn't it?
It's killing me.
I know, man.
Yeah.
All right, so I want to go through the different seasons, like springtime fishing, what's best. And before I do, though, 2 things. One, just think back in your mind about one of the best trips you've had on the Independence and try to tell people about how great it was. I know, I'm sure there's a bunch of them, but like maybe one of your best tuna trips. Can you think back where you fished?
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Well, we could talk about tuna size of fish. I mean, we've had tuna fishing on that smaller grade, anywhere from 30 to 60 pounders, where they're on the corner biting lift poles, basically. To me, you get a bite, you get a school of fish that are starving. You don't get much better than that.
Right. I'm with you.
But now let's talk about some of my best trips. One of our first hurricane trips was phenomenal. We had
so where is Hurricane Bank?
Hurricane
so everybody
Bank is
knows.
960 miles from San Diego.
That's a little bit of a run.
550 miles from Cabo towards Hawaii, 960 miles from San Diego. So you're out in the middle of nowhere. Anyways, on that particular trip, 32 guys, 16 days. I think we ended up with 34 fish, over 200, and we ended up with limits of fish from 100 to 180. I mean, we filled the boat. I have 4 fish wells, and we topped the boat off. It was unbelievable.
That's amazing.
We were
fishing.
chunking 90 pounders. We get a 90-pound tuna, and we chunk them up for bait.
Right.
For bigger fish. It was a phenomenal trip. We get 20 or 30 over 100 every day, 40 over 100, but you're there on the bank for 7 days. We had daytime and nighttime bites. I had 2 crew members at nighttime watching the deck while they slept during the day, and vice versa. The first night or 2, we had just one deckhand at night, which a lot of people do. But he had to wake up 2 crew members every time a fish came over the side, because they're all 180 to 240s, And so I said, instead of waking the crew up in the middle of the night all night long, let's have 2 of the biggest guys I got on the boat. You guys watch the deck at night, and we get up. It was like that cartoon where the 2 sheepdogs, which they'd walk down. I looked at the board. We had 21 cows and we had 11. Oh, good fishing last night. All right, good night. It was just one of those things. You catch fish on the kites. You catch them on fly line skipjack. You catch them on chunk bait. You catch them on regular fly line sardine. You got them on balloons. All these different techniques are going on the whole time too.
That's amazing. How about like a wahoo bite? Do you have any recollection of a good wahoo bite? Those things are crazy, right? I mean, people, they're so fast. And
I've had the best wahoo bite I ever had. I ran the boat last year. We had 240 wahoo. It was a 10-day trip.
This is last year?
Last year.
Wow.
So
you don't have to go back in the archives 30 years ago.
Oh, no. We had some best fishing lately.
That's awesome.
This particular bite was pretty crazy. I mean, these fish got grouped up on our kelp patties northwest of the ridge. And there's one kelp I got on. We pull up to it. I look down the water. I saw over 100 wahoo in the water. And they're just swimming real gently to the boat.
Oh, my God.
It was glassy. And they're just doing this. And I go, throw the bombs. And these guys threw their jigs past the wahoo. And I just remember looking down the water. And the wahoo were doing 180s and attacking the guys' jigs. I think on that one little stop, we had 60 on that one.
Wow.
We ended up 240 on the trip. It was good wahoo fishing.
Wow,
Yeah,
man.
it was good wahoo
Have you ever
fishing,
seen any of that stuff like you talk about guys that are lifting a jig out of the water and a hook comes out of the water and goes through the galley window?
Yeah.
You've heard those stories. And
we experienced them.
Oh, shoot.
On this year, one of my crew members, he was in the middle of the bait tank, which is what? Middle of the bait tank from the end is around probably 13, 14 feet in. Mm-hmm. We had a wahoo jump out of the water and land on his side with his mouth closed, thank God. And we put a 6-inch laceration with the staple it together. But he was on the boat. The wahoo came completely out of the water, hit that. We had wahoo hit the side of the boat a lot. We had wahoo jump on the boat. That happens. So you just got to be they are very aggressive, very fast. And they don't have brakes.
Right.
When they get going, they go, be very, very careful with wahoo fishing.
Did that deckhand get to keep that wahoo? Was that his fish?
I don't know. I think he backed the heck out of it after that. But I don't know. Kalani got hit hard. That was a sad one. Yeah, that was pretty. It gets scary out there. The wahoo, they don't have teeth. They have like serrated edge. They will cut through. They will cut through anything so fast. They will mess you up really bad. You got to have boots on. There's a lot of do's and don'ts with wahoo fishing.
No flip flops.
No, man. They just when they're dead, if their mouth is open and you touch their teeth, it will rip you up. You got to get stitches.
Wow,
they're that bad. Very, very dangerous fish.
Wow, I mean that's amazing. Those fish, and they're
dangerous.
super fast, right? When you hook one, all of a sudden you're like, how did that? It's up in the bow.
That's right. He's already in the bow. The guy's running full speed. We've had times where guys cast jigs out. They're letting them sink, and they start whining. And there's nothing on the end. The wahoo come through and they bite 2-3 inches in front of the jig, and you didn't even feel it.
Wow.
A lot of times we had kelp patty stops. First 2 yellowfin on the boat, these little baby like 4-pounders, cut completely in half. The guy's bringing the yellowfin in, the wahoo comes through and snipes it right off. A thing about a wahoo on especially a sardine, you fish and fly line sardine, you get bit, you hook them, it comes off, you bring it back, and just a head, right? Mm-hmm. Well, the thing about a wahoo, what he does, people don't understand. When you got your sardine in the water, wahoo come through naturally, right through the middle of that sardine. They take half them off, they come back around, then they take the second half. So if you ever get a bite with the wahoo and I didn't hook it, but I feel my bait's still there, take it back out of gear. They come back around and eat it probably 50% of the time.
Wow, that's a great tip.
Okay? That's a really good wahoo tip. I mean, we've had times I remember one time years ago, we were fishing one of the islands, and I had to have everybody hold on the marauder. At the count of 3, put your jig in the water. The fishing was so good. You get the new change of the trollers.
Yeah.
And one guy Phil's on top of it. He throws his bait back, his troller rod right back there. It hits the water, goes back 20 feet, and he's on. Well, that just ruined it for the whole trolling team. Mm-hmm. Now we switched trolling teams.
Oh, yeah.
And the guys were, hey, I'm just getting my rod. What do you mean I'm done? That was going on that whole day. We had over close to 200 fish that day.
Wow.
And we had to have it. All right, guys, everybody got your jig in your hand? Okay. At the count of 3, you put your jig in the water. So we have to say, and they put the jig in the water within like 2 minutes they're on, I mean, we've had some crazy bites.
That is hilarious, man. I love that. How about like some other species? Grouper? Do you catch a lot of that stuff? That's bitchin'?
Oh yeah, we fish in the ridge. We fish the high spots.
Yeah.
The best grouper fishing is always with that fly line skipjack.
Oh.
It could be live or dead fly line though, no sinker. That's the big ones.
Yeah.
You fly line it. And you just get
How big a skipjack is your bait?
Don't matter.
Yeah.
Those things, they got bouncers big, a pound, 2, 3, 4, 5 pounders, know. And I just always remember just dumping a dead one, and right you get out of vision, wham, you're on. You know,
Oh, God. And
you
what
know,
size group are we talking
anywhere from 40 to 90 pounds.
Wow.
You know, but if you hook them too close to the bottom, they'll ruin you. They'll take you.
Yeah.
So you always want to make sure they're up off the. You know, it'd be nice to get them on fly line that way they're up off the bottom.
Yeah. All right, so let's go through this for right now.
Okay.
What's coming up? Spring, right? Spring is coming up. What kind of trips does the Independence run? What are you focusing on? What are you catching?
Right now, we came in yesterday.
Or winter, yeah.
Yeah, right now we just got in off a 16-day.
Yeah.
We had good tuna fishing for a couple days out down the bank. They had tuna on most of the 260 was the biggest one. They caught them on.
And when you say the bank, you're talking about
Hurricane Bank.
Okay.
The big one was caught on Hurricane Bank. That's where we fished. Fly line skipjack. You know, live fly line skipjack. We caught a lot of that 90 to 100 pounders on the kite with the flying fish.
Yeah.
We got a lot of fish on fly line sardines. Good fishing for a little over 2 days, and then the current slowed down, and when the current stopped, that 100-pound tuna disappeared. So the rest of the trip they caught wahoo, and they got more tuna throughout the trip, but it wasn't as good as it was the first 2 days. We have another 16-day trip departing in next Thursday.
Uh-huh.
So we go out for another 16.
Going to Hurricane, or are you not sure?
Hurricane
yet?
Bank.
Yeah.
We'll head down there. And then we have 22 guys. We have 2 openings if anybody's interested. That'll be a 16-day trip. And then we get back in. You never know. We get back in, and then we'll be in for a couple months. I'm going to do some yard work. We'll work to the boat and prove some things. And then we'll start our 7-day trips this spring. Spring, we like to concentrate on, this bluefin. It's been incredible. So we'll probably fish the bluefin and yellowtail.
And the bluefin thing, I'm sure you're aware of this, but the Mexican seiner fleet has reached their quota. They're done.
Already this year?
Yeah, they're done.
Wow.
Now, tell me, that suggests 2 things to me. 1, you don't have to put up with the Mexican seiner fleet.
Right.
2, there's an awful lot of bluefin tuna around.
There's a lot of bluefin.
It's incredible.
The only problem we have with bluefin is there's so much fish and there's so much bait, so much feed in the water that they're full a lot of times. And you hear this a million times. Oh, we got a huge school, but they're not biting.
Right.
That happens a lot. I find my best bites when I don't find those huge schools. You find little dabs of fish, and those are the ones that are out looking and foraging. They're looking, they're biting, you know. But there's a lot of bluefin, so we'll probably do a lot of concentrate on that bluefin. And usually springtime is good yellowtail fishing. The ridge, the water a little bit cool sometimes down there, so we won't go there right away. But then we'll go from the 7-day to the 10-day trips, and you can see on our schedule how we arrange it for that stuff, you know.
Hey, Paul, when you're setting up these 16-day trips, because before that, I got to imagine you're not going all the way down to Hurricane Bank. You're staying a little further. Well, not on your 16. I'm saying 5 to 7 days.
Oh, yeah.
So how do you get your intel on where those fish are at before you go out there?
Well, it's not that we're in a group of the other long range boats, and it's a little secret group we got going on. So we're always scouting. Every boat is doing their thing and give out information, so we have an idea where to, where not to, or where to go, and you know, that kind of thing.
So you guys have your own little, just like down here.
Same
These guys
thing.
have their own code groups, and they work.
You got it.
Because I was thinking it's real hard to figure out what the hell's going on.
Well, if you look at the whole Baja coast,
right,
and you got 12 guys, even with 12 guys, it's a long coast.
Right.
You know, you got 700 miles to the Cape, so you got 300-400 miles of area that you have to always stay up with. We're local, you know, you can almost see everybody with binoculars.
And then the game's always changing while you're out there. You're finding new stuff out there while you're on the water.
As long as you got a moon that's always changing, you got wind, you got weather, you have water conditions, everything's always changing all the time. You have 2-3 days of good fish, and you have, you know, things change. So you have to know how to roll with the punches.
I know the answer to this, but I wonder if you could get into this without naming any names or anything, but how competitive are those code groups? I mean, that dope...
Yeah,
what dope is a synonym for information. That is valuable, right? That information is super valuable.
Our code group is obviously very valuable, very useful. We all really have to trust each other's information,
right?
But we're a little bit different because we're fishing in a different part of the ocean that these the 1 day, 2 day, and 3 day boats don't fish.
Yeah,
they never fished most of the area that we're down below. So it's a little bit easier for us, but this local scene, it gets really
I know, this gets
crazy,
brutal,
man.
right? Like
what? Yeah. Well, back when we had the Islander, we had 2 or 3 different groups, and we're all fishing around sort of each other, but it gets really competitive.
Really?
And all the
guys
crazy,
get angry at each other?
Well, not really. You gotta know how to roll. And you got crazy digital scrambler radios.
Right.
You have single sideband with. I mean, it can get really nutsy on the information. And now we're starting to come out with stuff, satellite buoys that we put on kelps. We have little things like this we're starting to do now, and it helps us out.
I'm sure that satellite buoy on a kelp is really valuable. Huh?
Well, down below where we're fishing, we got our particular code group, and that's the only guys that are fishing down below. And we get a good kelp. You catch all the Dorado on the God's green earth on kelps. I mean, thousands of Dorado. We'll put a satellite buoy on it for the next guy coming down. And every day we can watch on our computer. Every hour it updates where it's at. And so a guy coming down 2 days later, we give him exact coordinates. It's making our life a little easier. This just happened, this last year. But so we're starting to help our long range fleet. We're starting to do things like that. So just all part of being one big group.
Is long range fishing as good now as it was 20 years ago? I guess it is because I asked you your best wahoo bite, it was a year ago.
Yeah. Long range. This bluefin thing is really.
God Almighty! This is like.
It's
if you had to
incredible.
look for this kind of a bite previously, you have to go back 100 years.
On bluefin, probably. I wasn't around then.
Yeah.
What changed? I noticed the Alejos. When we started back in the early 2000s, Alejos had a lot of that 60 to 100 pound tuna on it. It's not there anymore. We haven't found it the last 6-7 years.
I wonder what the deal is.
I don't know, but what I do know is that fish slowed up, and a lot of that fish is like a Guadalupe. And then that bluefin, we never had bluefin like we have now. I mean, things in the ocean are changing with the water a little bit warmer now, and I don't understand that yellowfin. Out of all the mystery fishes, one being sand bass.
Yeah,
that mystery fish. And
you mean where are they?
Yeah. That and barracuda.
Yeah,
but that's off our what we're talking about. But that yellowfin on Alejos. Now that's one we would love to have that back at Alejos, because Alejos is just that little farther where it's a nice destination.
Yeah,
Alejos, the Ridge, home.
Yeah,
something like that.
Yeah.
But now you go to Alejos for wahoo, yellowtail. We had good yellowtail fishing in Alejos, good yellowtail, and wahoo fishing. But that bigger grade of tuna, it disappeared. And I think that
how long's it been gone?
6, 7, 8 years now.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah,
huh?
Every year it's like anything else. Every year you hopefully like the albacore.
Yeah.
Where are they at?
Yeah.
We know where they're at, but why aren't they here?
East of New Zealand right now, right?
Boy, yeah.
Some of those guys are hammering that there.
Are they? Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So, I mean, those mysteries, that's what makes this so interesting, though. When you talk about like the changing water and the moon and all that, it makes it a challenge every single time you leave the docks.
And as you get older, you've seen it when it was good. You've seen it when it was bad. And like my old theory is, if you live long enough, you might see it again happen.
Like albacore.
Albacore.
I'm convinced that'll come back.
Squid fishing. I hope.
Yeah.
But yes. People don't realize the late 1800s, early 1900s, the way fishing was. Well, we don't know how it was in the 1820s.
Right.
We don't know how it was. We can only document from 1920s to now, and we always thought the 1920s and 30s and 40s, that's how it always was. But not really, maybe. Who knows?
Right. Exactly.
That's the thing.
And, when I started 976 tuna in 85, I based it on albacore.
Right,
I was like, people get so fired up about albacore. This is
Remember that?
next freaking year, there's no albacore.
That's
I'm
right,
like,
85
oh
was
my
bad.
God. Am I a dumbass?
That was funny.
But, I mean, albacore, would you like to see those things back? Because they're such a bitch.
I love albacore.
Aren't they, man?
Yeah.
I mean, the wings out, looking down in that purple
It's a
water.
great passenger fish.
Yeah.
Why?
Why is it
Well,
great?
it's great because they're not too big.
Yeah.
I hate to say that, but they're not that big. They're anywhere from in the beginning of the year, they're like that 14 to 17 pounders, and then they get to 20 to 30, 28 pounders, and then you get those 30 to 39 pounders.
Yeah, in the fall, late summer, fall.
Yeah. But that one year we had all the 40 pounders. That one year we had a really good fish and all that 38, 40 pound fish, and every crew member got tendonitis from throwing them because they're not big enough for two guys, but they're pretty big for one guy.
Yeah.
So the crew member would throw them, and everybody had the same tendonitis.
What year
problem.
was this, man?
That must have been, probably 06.
Yeah.
06, 07, right in that. we had good albacore fishing
Yeah,
on the way
and
to
big grade.
Yeah, we'd go to Guadalupe on that. Let's say we fished Guadalupe. The first day we'd fish straight albacore in the dark. We'd find them in the dark, and we'd catch our 100 to 200 fish
In a night bite?
Yeah, night bite / morning.
Yeah.
and then burn rubber to Guadalupe and do our fishing there, and then come back.
Man, when you're going to the loop after you get a hit like that, you're just sitting on top of the world, right?
It's
You're
fun.
feeling really good about life.
Oh yeah. We had some really good albacore fishing in the man with that Islander in the 90s.
Yeah?
That was we had some good fishing.
Just 100 plus every
I've had
day.
time. Yeah, well, I've had trips where everybody had limits, and one guy, we're going to do something different. And some guy walks up to me and goes, "Hey, I didn't get my limit." I go, "How did you not catch a limit?" Okay, I got that. And then you look off to your right, a quarter mile, another breezer, another pop. You pull right up to it, and it's wide open again. I mean, we had so many trips. We have limits every day.
I remember standing
That's
on
the
the bow.
mid-90s. Yeah.
Around that time, on
Yeah.
the bow of the Pegasus, and Joe Chait was running the boat, and
Yeah.
I was going, "Joe!" And I was pointing at it,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
he goes... and he's up there with the
he's-
gyros, and there were 4. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
amazing freaking fish.
When they move in, it was good. That's why they got to, I think something, water, who knows? We'll figure it out one day
Hopefully, I mean,
in our lifetime, huh?
There's one of these. There's these fisheries experts. His name's Bob Osborne. He says there's a La Nina in play right now,
Right.
and if it lasts into the spring, he said the door will be open. And I said, "Is that a slam dunk that there's going to be albacore?" And he said, "It's a high probability. Nothing's a slam dunk in this."
Interesting, yeah.
But he thinks this year we got our first shot if the La Nina makes it into the spring. Hey, speaking about big albacore, how about this local bite? Remember that when Dipley was walking up with hugging a 90-pound albacore? Were you running a boat during those days?
Well, that was December of '84.
December. I mean, this is when everybody says it's Christmas. There's no more good fishing.
November-ish.
Yeah, we're done, right?
Yeah.
And what happened?
Well,
when was it? What happened? That's one of the most memorable bites in Southern California history.
If I would, I could have got I have the information at home on pictures, but it was like the first week of November. One of our purse seiner buddies saw these big albacore outside Santa Cruz Island down below. Next thing you know, they came between our channel. And on the first string, the first day that we went fishing for these things, Fran Kennedy, I remember her, she came out, and she's a very good lady angler.
Yeah.
And she caught the world record albacore. I think it was 76 pounds.
On a local trip.
20-pound test, yeah, local. Well,
How long was she on that on 20 pounds?
45 minutes.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, she pulled hard.
Yeah.
I believe, don't quote me, I think the bite lasted 2.5 weeks. We
It's
carried
about like that,
We
yeah.
carried close to 100 people every day on the first string, and we were top dog a lot of days because we were the only boat with the sonar. And what me and Mark would do, we'd go out there and we'd find that mid-channel, we'd find a school of bait.
Yeah.
You drop 90 lines or 95 lines with sinkers right through that bait. Next thing we'd hook 1, 2, 3, 5 fish. And we had a lot of days where we caught 2, 3, 8 fish, 10 fish. We had a 14-day fish and that kind of thing. One day I got on the first, I remember this, I got on a spot, found the sonar mark, dropped them down, boom, hooked one right away first thing in the morning. Oh my God, we're going to get them today. Guy's on the fish for an hour. And I'm thinking, we have 90-some people just sitting around waiting for watching the guy catch fish on a 20-pound test.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, man, should I put him on a time limit, cut him off, and let's just try another one? No, I told myself, lock yourself in the wheelhouse and do nothing.
Hide away. From
because
those other 90 people that are
it's just one of those things. It's stress.
Yeah.
Just quiet.
Well, what are you gonna do, man?
So I sat there in the bunk. I lay down, and all of a sudden I hear, yay. Clap in, good. I walk back there, nice big slug, like 68-pounder or 70-pounder. All right, let's get going. Never caught a fish the rest of the day.
Oh God.
Everybody back there patting them and looking at them. But it just to show you, you can never, one in the hand is better than 2 in the bush.
Yeah, hell yeah.
And from that point on, I said, catch what's your hook. Don't think. So don't always run away from biting fish or what you got. Because a lot of guys were, you hear the people, oh, hey, guy, you got an hour limit. We're going to cut your line. I told myself, from that point on, it's worth just waiting, Anyways.
So
There's so many. Oh, man.
I want to ask you guys. We're coming off a season where we caught some huge bluefin tuna, and it's been like this for a couple of years. And I hear it around Atlantic. It's not just you guys.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone's hoping this albacore returns. and we're coming off these amazing seasons. Why? If that albacore returns, isn't that bluefin and dorado going to go away?
Bluefin and albacore hang out together.
Okay.
That's why I don't understand where are my albacore.
Yeah.
Because we catch albacore and bluefin because they're both cold water fish. Yellowfin, when you start catching albacore and then all of a sudden you catch the yellowfin, the albacore are on their way out.
Okay.
And a lot of times you'll catch bluefin. Then as you start catching yellowfin, same thing has happened to bluefin. They go. But this last few years have been unbelievable, unseen type of fishing. Bluefin are harder to catch, as you know, and you don't really just load up on them like you do the albacore. Albacore are not as intelligent, and so it's a good passenger fish. You'll catch your 8 or 5 or 10 per guy when they're biting, not all the time, But anyways,
And they're damn good eating fish,
they're
right?
eating. Oh, yeah.
On the cue,
Oh, yeah.
I don't think there's a better fish than albacore on the cue.
albacore's
They're so good.
Albacore's very good. It's a white meat fish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So back to that local bite. That I just want to. I mean, I get that dilemma you were in because you hook a fish, and you want to say, "God, there's 90 people watching. What do I do here?" And
Well, it was your first stop of the morning.
Yeah.
You could have a 20, 30 fish day. That's huge.
Yeah.
When other sport boats without sonars were getting maybe 2 or 3 fish a day.
and everybody was still carrying people, right?
Oh, God, we're loaded.
Even with 2 or 3 fish a day, right? I mean,
Loaded.
I can do the math.
Loaded.
There's 97 people that didn't get a fish if you have 3 fish.
Yeah.
But it didn't matter.
Not one
because
complaint.
It was the dream of catching that, right?
Not one complaint.
Yeah.
It was just funny. It was just a phenomenal time. It was our first year running the first string too.
And there were 10,000 private boaters out there, too. That must have been brutal.
Not as bad as nowadays.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of boats.
Yeah.
But now there's a lot of small boats.
Yeah, well, you say that with a certain disdain in your
A
voice.
lot. Yeah. And they're
Why?
because they're good. There's a lot of guys with small boats that are good fishermen.
Yeah.
And they got the plotters. They got the speed. They got all the intel. And it just makes it tougher for us.
Yeah.
We're going 10 knots everywhere. They're going 25, 30.
How many people do you find that have private boats don't have proper etiquette, like they run through your chum line or drive you crazy that way?
Well,
Does that still happen?
Yeah. I mean, most of those guys are guys who don't know any better.
Yeah.
A lot of them. And
So
the
you
guys,
write it off to that? You don't get angry?
you have to, because if you get angry, you don't have hair in your head.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
But there's a lot to the small boater. A lot of them know what they're doing. A lot of the guys know more than you know.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm talking a lot of guys who fished on sport boats for many years, and they go out and buy their own boat and they do their own thing after that. There's a lot to say. Another big problem we have is sea lions.
Yeah, what about that? Talk
that's
about
a subject.
that.
That's another weird, crazy green hugger. We love seals. Seals are great, but there's a population deal. There's a Marine Mammal Protection Act back in the 70s, and from that point on, you weren't allowed to do anything to them. And people don't realize. I don't like to talk bad about seals. I like seals. I work with them on the bait boat. They don't hurt us. We don't hurt them. We feed them, but they damage your fishing when you're sport fishing.
Yeah.
You'll have barracuda around the boat and bass. Next thing you know, you have 4 or 5 seals around, and you can't scare them. You can't do nothing. They scare the fish away. And then people say, well, they have to eat too, and they do. I get it.
Is there nothing you can do nowadays? I remember back in the day you had seal bombs.
You seal bombs,
Can you do
but
seal bombs
well, here's
still?
the problem with seal bomb. People don't understand. They're called seal bombs.
Yeah.
Well, I call them seal attractors.
And now it's the dinner bell light?
It's the dinner bell.
It is?
Yeah, you throw a
They
seal bomb in
figured
the
that
water.
out?
Yeah, one time I had it. I mean, just for instance, I had a mackerel bite one time with a half-day trip.
Yeah.
We're trying to fish the bottom for rock cod or rockfish in 30 fathoms, and the mackerel attacked us. Guys couldn't get to the bottom. Everyone was tangling up. You know what I did? I threw 2 seal bombs in the water. 4 seals came, wiped out the mackerel bite. No more mackerel, and we were able to get to the bottom, catch rockfish. It was great. But seals are it's a delicate issue.
Yeah, it really is. It's very delicate because you have like kids and stuff that love sea lions, and you don't want to. But at the same time, there's so many that they're starving to death.
Well,
It's not good for them, right?
That's another problem. There are so many sea lions, way more than there ever was in history, and they do start. They are starving. We're rehabilitating them, letting them back out in the ocean. A lot of them are spoiled. They don't want to hunt on their own anymore. They rather just follow us out fishing.
Yeah. It screws up the whole Darwinian survival of the fittest thing, right? Because the fittest are no longer the only ones who survive. Everything survives. And that's not natural.
Yeah. Think about this, too. How much food they need every day. How much fish they're taking out of the ocean every day. I'm talking about thousands of tons of sardine, mackerel, rockfish, everything. They don't have swim bladders. They could dive down 600 feet. And, And when you get a population of so many, they're taking part of the food chain along with us. They're taking it too, but a lot more than in the past. So a decline in fishery, you can't blame it on the fishermen, 100%.
Let me go back to the independence now and springtime.
Oh yeah.
The next question that anglers have on a half-day boat, and they're trying to make that jump, they want to go, is, oh my God, how much gear do I need? How much gear do I have to go on one of those trips? Can I rent gear? What do I need?
Okay, well, obviously there's rental tackle, but if you go on the independence, and we know that you do not have a good 40-pound outfit, or you don't have that kind of stuff, we have it on the boat. Avet, for instance, sponsors us. We have all the 2-speed JXs, LXs, 30s, 50s. We have all the heavy and lightweight stuff. Seeker and a couple other rod manufacturers, we got our rod from them. So we have good rental gear on the boat. You need 3 good, on a trip, you need a good 30 and a good 40-pound for the most part. That's all you really need.
Really?
But until we get to the bigger fish now. I mean, that's good for anything under 50 pounds. We have good wahoo, good tuna fishing stuff. But now on a long trip, excuse me, if we're going to be fishing Hurricane Bank and you don't have a 30 or a 50, we have that. So and we have the
just
big
rent
stuff.
it from you guys.
All we ask for is just pay for one for the monofilament that we have to put back on it. Yeah, we just let them use it.
So you can
Loaner
just
tackle.
show up without your...
Show up with your suitcase with your clothes.
Oh my God, that is really awesome.
Yeah, we do have people like that a lot.
Yeah.
We have 8 or 9 guys. Next thing you know, we're rigging them up and getting them all zoned in. And those guys are the easiest guy to train.
Yeah.
They're the easiest because they listen and they don't have a chip on the shoulder, and they do just fine.
Right.
And it's good tackle.
It's really important.
You got to have 2-speed reels nowadays.
And you got to listen. You got to be open to.
Yeah.
These guys are on the water 24 hours a day.
Right.
You know what to do. You're gonna.
Well, I can see a guy and I could tell him if he's coordinated in casting or not. A lot of guys just don't have that coordination, and so you really need the help. A lot of guys will throw a jig, and I look at him and go, "Okay, empty your rod. I'll throw the jig out for him. Put it in gear. There you go. Wind it." And I'll do that for a guy who really wants to catch fish on the jig. I know they're biting the jigs, but I know he can't get it farther than 20 feet away from the boat.
Yeah.
And I'll cast it 100 feet away. So it's no big deal for me. I'll cast it. And I said, today's not a day to learn how to cast. We'll do that on another day. Go in the bow by yourself. Don't hurt someone. But there's do's and don'ts I could teach you about casting, that you won't hurt the guy behind you and you'll get the jig far in the ocean. But we'll do that another day. Right now they're biting, so let me get the jig out for you. And that happens a lot. But when it comes to rental tackle, we have loaner gear on the boat, and it really makes it convenient for the newbie kind of guy. A guy who does just half day and 3/4 day and doesn't have the right gear. We don't fish with single speed rig. There's not too many single speed rigs on the boats anymore.
Yeah, I know.
On our boat, the long range type.
It's revolutionized fishing, hasn't it?
It's really. The old 500s and stuff that I have millions of. They're basically good for 3/4 day fishing. That's about it.
Yeah.
And they applied a lot of this stuff to the 3/4 day. We got the Spectra. Spectra changed the whole world of fishing.
Yeah.
Spectra, 2-speed, and fluorocarbon.
What do you say to the old guys like me and I'm not this way, but there's a lot of old guys that I still like mono. I don't like this Spectra crap.
That's okay. Just as long as you know what's going on and you know that.
But what would you tell them? Spectra's.
I tell them, hey,
better, right?
Yeah. Let's say you're on the boat and let's say you got a 2-speed reel, but you got a straight mono. I go, Phil, this is what we're gonna do. I'm not even gonna ask you. This is what we're gonna do. You're gonna give me around $20, $25, and I'm going to fill this thing 2/3 with Spectra. I'm going to show you a knot. So now, every day, we're going to take 50 to 100 feet of mono off, cut it, put brand new mono on. Having brand new mono filament is everything. But in the old days with your squidders and jig masters, you don't want to throw 300 feet or 400 yards of mono in the trash every day,
right,
to make it happen.
Right.
So we're going to put Spectra 2/3 almost all the way up, and we'll put like 100, maybe not 100, like 50 feet of monofilament. And so I'll teach you the Tony Pena, and I'm going to teach you the knot for the fluorocarbon. If you want to go straight mono to hook, fine. If you want to put some fluoro and be a little more secretive and catch more bites, I'll teach you the Seaguar Knot. So we'll go your fluorocarbon to your mono, then 3-4 feet, and then we'll tie your regular knot. But I could do that with you in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
But let's get the Spectra on your reel. So now you'll never have to change that Spectra. Spectra is not a line you have to change.
Ever?
Hardly ever.
Yeah.
Once every few. You don't fish as much as we do. We fish every day with these loaner tackle, and we hardly ever change them.
Wow.
We only change them if we start losing some Spectra from tangles. And stuff.
Yeah.
But once you got Spectra, then that's your base. Now you have enough line on that reel. If you hook a real fish, you'll land them.
Yeah.
Because 300 feet of or 400 yards of mono on a jig master, or 400 yards, I mean, you'll get spooled. Well, now with Spectra, you can put 1,000 yards.
Yeah, right.
So now you have a chance.
Did you ever have to splice a rod to another rod and throw it overboard?
Many times.
Yeah, well, tell people because they don't even realize what that was all about.
Yeah, we've done this even with Spectra. We've done it.
No way.
Yeah, we had on these big get 300 pounders, and you get the 280s are really like the high college football players.
Yeah.
And the 300 pounders, they're more like the pro that's about ready to retire. Big, a little bit slower, but he's full of he still has it though. He's got the weight behind him. I mean, we've had times where guys were just about spooled, and we have another rod on the boat with buoys on it, and it's got I have mine all have 80s. They have 80s 3-speeds, and we'll hook that rod to your rod, and then we just tighten your drag and loosen ours, and we just throw the rod in the water.
Right.
So now you have all the line and that rod in the water fishing.
You're throwing like $1,000
rig in the water. Yeah.
Right.
I'm backing it up though with a $1,500 rig. Yeah. But anyway, so now we got the backup rig out there, and you're just basically just you're not pulling really hard, but you're basically trying just to wear the fish out. It's all a matter of time, And after maybe a half hour, then the rod comes back up, get that back on the boat, and off you go again. But those big fish, it's about time. I mean, hour and 45 minutes to 2 hours is not unseen. Happens a lot,
And a lot of that is how to pull on a fish. When a new guy,
yeah.
I noticed like on the Amigo, we were out, and I would watch new guys fight a bluefin, and it's like they're fighting themselves. Like they're, when a fish is taking line, it's time to kind of relax a little bit. But they're like still like,
oh yeah.
And they wear themselves out. So you're going to instruct guys on
how
to pull on a fish, right?
On these, if we're talking, let's talk about big fish, because there's different ways.
Yeah.
On the big tuna, there's two things. Number one, you're fishing with a hook that's not going to break. We broke a few when they had Gamakatsu had a couple issues, but let's not talk about that. But for the most part, you're not going to break your hook. You're not going to break 100-pound. You could tie 100-pound test on a hook with a good knot. You won't break it.
Right.
Okay. So you have these things going. Now you're fishing with a 30-pound drag, a 40-pound drag, you have a lot of drag. And when you hook these big tuna, you're basically either on one knee or under your arm, putting almost as much as you could before pretend like you want to break them off, but you're not. Okay, you have a lot of drag, and that's how you fight these things, full speed. You can't give them line, you can't do that because they will take advantage of you.
Yeah.
They'll be on for 2.5 hours if you do that. You have to pull hard. In the deep color, you almost have to go full no drag.
Really?
Because they're a 260-pounder doing circles, and he's not giving up. I see a lot of bluefin are a much easier fish to land, the big ones, than the big yellowfin we catch down below.
Yeah.
These big tuna are not giving up.
They're still hot.
Yeah, well, they just, even when they're not hot, between their weight and you're not going to get, they always want to get that head down.
Yeah.
And if you let them get that head down, it's just going to take you that much longer.
Yeah.
We've had 90, when we're catching those big fish, 90% of them, the guy is just, you're beat, but you're not watching what we're really doing. We're going up to your reel, and we're just going all the way to the floor with it. All the way to the floor. That's the only way you're going to land them.
Wow.
At the very end of the battle.
Yeah.
You got to go to the floor. Almost no drag.
And you're coaching the guy saying, come on, wind.
Right?
I
mean, a lot of guys in the morning, they'll put their knee pads on because a lot of times you'll fight them on one knee on the deck, one knee under your arm. You have to have different techniques that don't wipe you out. You don't want to be too tall. Too tall sometimes wipes guys out because it's between the rail position. It can go between the legs, under the arms. It gets goofy. The good, a 5'7", 5'8" guy really can put the hurt to the
Sounds
smaller
like
fish.
Patrick might kick your butt.
It sounds like he's
on
in.
those big fish. Yeah, it can get really, really, really crazy on those big ones. And the thing about a big fish, he's not as wild as a small fish. Those small, like 20, 30-pound bluefin, those are the craziest fish in the world. I mean, they're all over the place. These big fish are just like little Volkswagens, just swimming around nice and gentle. You just got to keep a lot of weight on them and stay right in front of them. Really easy to stay in front of them, but you can't have any angle. Because a little angle here is a lot of angle down there. 200-300 yards from the boat, he could be 400 feet sideways. So you just got to keep almost straight up and down on whatever position he's at. But he's making big circles all the time. So you have to but they're a lot easier to handle than the smaller fish.
Yeah, the small ones are wild. Well, that was a great analogy you gave about the college football player, the 260.
Yeah.
That's like full, and then the old
guy.
old man,
That's it.
like you or me. Or no, not you, me.
Whatever. But
yeah,
we've had one bite. We hooked 5 over 3, and we ended up catching 3 of them. They're like 340, 360, and those big dogs, they just go out to sea. And we had a 50 wides, nice and gentle, almost to the spool, and then it stops, and then we just start winding,
Wow.
get him in a little bit, and then he goes for another little, the slow run, and never stops, and we're on this thing, 40-pound to drag, just trying to break him up, but you're not, but and the spool's just going this fast, and it just goes, and I go, you got a real fish, because he's out to sea. The big 300, anything over the high 2s and 3s, they like to go out, and then that real slow tail wag on them. Yeah, you can tell a little different from a 230 from a 330.
That's
the way they
amazing.
fight. It's fun. Yeah,
you
it's different.
mentioned a second ago fluorocarbon. Are you a fluorocarbon guy? Is it important or not important?
Depends what you're fishing for.
Okay, well, give me the examples.
Well, if you're fishing a bluefin, well, okay, fluorocarbon works. Okay, a lot of times, a lot of bites, you might not need it because fish are dumb.
Yeah.
Fish are hungry and they're biting everything. We fish our whole life without fluorocarbon.
Yeah.
But when you're on a touchy bite, bluefin fishing, yellowfin fishing, maybe yellowtail fishing locally or something where the yellowtail aren't biting that well, the fluorocarbon is that little more of an edge.
Yeah, and you might as well. I'm guessing, like, since you don't know whether you're going to have stupid fish or smart fish,
Go
that day, you might as
fluorocarbon.
well have it, right?
Do it, yeah.
Yeah.
I like the tackle box where you open them up and they got like that spool and they got that little, and the guy has his 15, his 20, his 25, his 30, and his 40, and his 60 fluorocarbon. So you just take out with it. It's just another part of the tackle box. Fluorocarbon's important, I think.
Yeah, and
If they're going to give you an advantage, use it.
yeah, right. Because I mean, when you start thinking about what you invest in a trip, time, money, what the hell is a little putting fluorocarbon on, right?
You're spending that kind of money to go long range fishing. Fish with the best.
Yeah, right.
Go fluoro. Go good. Don't go cheap on hooks. Don't go cheap on mono. Don't go cheap on fluorocarbon.
What can anglers expect on a summertime long range trip? How long are the trips? What are you focusing on?
A lot of we have, believe it or not, we do have 4 3-day trips, 4 or 5 3-day trips this year. We backed off a couple of the 7s and made them into 3s, and we did some of that. Mainly 7-day trips, fishing the yellowtail, fishing the blue. And all this bluefin stuff, we'll be fishing probably, like I say, it's the middle of summertime. We'll be fishing yellows. We'll be fishing if we go to the rocks in the ridge. We'll be fishing that wahoo, yellowtail, yellowfin tuna, and then the groupers. Get some of that too. Because your 7-day trip, we'll be fishing down towards the ridge. 6-day trip, you only got a day or 2 days there, but you fish the rocks. But a lot of our trips are 7 days now.
Yeah.
And we'll actually go right down towards the ridge. And then on the way down, depends what happens with the bluefin stuff, but on the way down, you can catch bluefin. On the way home, we'll catch the bluefin. But down below, you can catch the wahoo. So it's a good mix. I like the 10-day trips.
Oh, do you? Why?
Because it really gives you a mix.
Yeah.
And then not only do you have the mix, but you got that extra 2-3 days
Yeah.
down below. Not only you have 2 days on the ridge, but now you have that extra, you can fish 4 days down there.
Ooh, God.
Which is nice.
Yeah.
Now and on a 10-day trip or 11-day trip, if that large tuna show up down below Mag Bay, the Toussaint Bank and the Morgan, a couple of banks down below,
Yeah.
it gives you a potato. You can actually. You start off on the ridge, you fish it half a day, 2/3 of the day, and that night burn rubber again. Go another down below and fish that big tuna, if that big tuna is there. That's normally in the fall. Normally in the fall you find that bigger tuna. But 10-day in general, though, you can fish the ridge, fish the rocks. You can go up and fish that local tuna. It gives you a little more time.
It gives you so many more options.
And you'll notice, like when your son fishes on the boat, he's on let's say a 3-day trip. Go, God darn, man, I could be on here another 3 days. Hell, Ed feed me. I'm full. Food's unbelievable. A great group of people. My bunk is great. I'm sleeping good. I can do this another 3 days without saying I'm roughing it. And so a lot of guys will do the 5-day trip, and the next thing you know, they'll do a 7-day. Next thing you know, they're 10. Next thing you know, 1 or 2, they might even try the big one. But a 16-day trip is definitely a different kind of trip. than a 10-day trip.
Yeah.
Because we do target the large tuna,
Yeah.
and it's in a time of the year where you don't fish the ridge, you don't get the variety, you don't get the yellowtail so much. But we try to catch that, but they don't bite as good being wintertime.
And if you add albacore, that's when if they do pop up, summertime is when you're going to see them, right? It used to be July 4th, you go out and troll around the 60 or troll around the inner bank or something. And
that's another animal.
Yeah,
Throw
right.
in the equation.
So
See that being a captain, we have to.
Yeah,
we got to jockey
figure that all out.
Yeah, that's right.
I remember we used to do on Father's Day. We'd do a 5-day trip on the Polaris Supreme, and exactly what you're saying happened because these guys would walk on and they'd go, "Boy, 5 days. It's a long time to be on a boat." And then the next thing I remember them saying like, "Oh man, we're going in."
Exactly.
Like, what the hell? Really?
We're already
It's
going.
over?
I know it's already over. Yeah.
And you've already kind of touched on the food, but I mean, there's a reason you're not calling him a galley cook and a chef. This guy's, especially on the Polaris Supreme, cutting fish into our fruit. We've got little tunas made out of lemons, and dude, it's amazing. The cuisine coming out of that kitchen.
Yeah, you have a chef and a sous chef.
Yes, it's crazy.
How about fall trips? Fall is such a
fall.
bitchin' long range time.
Most of my
fish,
if you want to fish the fall in the Independence, you better call Judy right now.
Really?
Because a lot of my trips are already sold out.
And part of the fall bite is the variety,
Yeah,
right?
the 10 days. That's right.
Yeah, those are the best,
They're
aren't
the best.
they?
I like them. I like that.
What kind of fish can you catch on a
Once
10
again,
day?
you're going to be catching your wahoo. You're gonna be catching your yellowtail, your yellowfin tuna, and then on the way home you might do a little short stop on these bluefin. So it just gives you more variety. Oh, your groupers,
Yeah.
your grouper, your snowies, your gulfs, but it throws a lot more in the mix in a little more time.
And, long range boats do not concentrate on marlin. I'm not saying that,
No.
but you can get in some insane, insane, where you got double digits going on deck on the marlin on Mag Bay during that time of year, right?
It can be crazy. We obviously we don't target. A lot of times we'll be looking, we see a frigate 4 or 5 miles away, thinking it's on tuna. We jump up, stop the boat, throw some chum, it's straight marlin.
And they come to the corner, right?
Oh yeah, they'll come right through, and next thing you know, you have 20 going.
Oh my god!
I've had 20 going one time. All we do trying to break them all off for you guys. They're flopping around, jumping out of the water. I mean, that's on the really good fishing, but marlin, it's very common to catch marlin on the anchor on the ridge that time of year.
That's amazing.
And but there are schools. I've had we had a dive trip one time. Guy chartered a boat for 12 days for diving, free diving, and we put the anchor down on the finger. On the finger? I think it was the finger or the potato. I can't remember what bank. But we put the anchor down and we just jumped in the water. I yelled at my dad and throw some bait, and he's throwing bait, and these marlin are just swimming underneath us and all around us. And
that's amazing.
The marlin, they can get really a lot of fish around at the right times.
You get to see, as a captain for so many years, you get to see so many cool things, from whales to these marlin bites. I asked Mark, he was on the show recently, and I asked him, have you ever done a rescue at sea? He talked about at Catalina Island, where he rescued a girl and saved her life. Does anything else come to mind for you? Have you ever seen anything?
Well, Mark mentioned that.
Yeah.
That was back in our early days, back in the first string. I believe it was 86, May 12th, I believe.
It was like the first year you had the boat or something
86.
Oh, okay.
It was a couple years after.
Yeah.
But Mark probably explained the rescue we did on that one.
Yeah.
I was running the boat, and I saw this little bow sticking out. It didn't look like a bumper, but didn't like a boat. I looked. It was just a little white pointy object. And I go, what the hell? So I aimed down towards it. We're coming home from a late day at Sentinel Rock, and it looked like a boat. I saw a little reflection of I go, holy Moses. And I yelled, I got on the PA, said, get ready to jump in the water. We might have something here, And we pulled up, and there was 2 bodies that were deceased that were tied up to the boat. And I knew right away we're on something that hasn't been seen. And I looked around, and I saw a little orange thing a long ways away, and I saw a little head above it. I go, we might have a live one. And I got on it. We got up. Wow. Mark jumped in the water, and it was.
Well, your heart just must be.
Well, you just in a different world now. You're in a different boom. I'm on the Coast Guard. With Coast Guard, you take a different. Your whole life is you're concentrating on what you're doing. You're not thinking about it. You're just going on instinct. And that was one incident.
Can you think of another one?
Oh yeah, we had down in Mexico. We've had one time Mark was running the boat, and we're a lot of times you get pongadeiros out there and they're waving, come by, give them some water, and whatever, and just keep going.
You think maybe it's not an emergency?
Yeah, no big
They're
deal.
just- yeah.
Yeah, we're coming in. We're around, I don't know, I forgot how many, 60, 70, 80 miles from Ensenada. We're coming up the line, and we see these guys are waving their slicker gear at us. Yeah, we make a right turn, go towards them. They're still waving the slicker gear. We're going toward them. We see them. We're coming. We're coming. Go check you out. And they're still waving their slicker gear. We're 100 yards from them. They're still waving. We pull up to them. And a couple guys on the boat spoke Spanish, and they asked them, what's going on? They've been out at sea for like 4 or 5 days.
Oh, my God.
No food, no water, no nothing. And so, my God, we threw them water, and they just smashed it into their mouths. And these guys were really going by quick. And anyways, long story, we got the ponga, we got them on the boat, we fed them, and we called the Mexican Navy, and they ended up coming and picking them up. And that was one time. Another time we had some Chinese people on a ponga that were being trafficking. We got that time. I mean,
What happened there?
we call the Coast Guard.
Uh-huh. Oh, yeah,
got
you
them
didn't get involved in it because it's human trafficking. And
Well,
you should have said ni hao.
Yeah, but yeah,
That's the only thing I learned in China for 3 years. I know how to say hello. That's
we
it.
don't want to be involved where the Coast Guard says stay with them for the next until we get
Oh,
there.
right. You're there for 6 months.
Yeah, with that one incident with the Pongadero, we were able to tow their boat, go towards Ensenada, so we didn't waste any of our time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then they met us out there in their patrol boat. Yeah, I mean, it was quite a few times. Oh, I mean, we had a time on the Sport King where we had a lot in the distance. We saw these arms. Guy, his plane crashed, and he'd been out there for like 5 or 6 hours only. Thank God.
Really?
Yeah, that was a long time ago. Back in the
You were on the Sport King?
Yeah,
With
back
Jimmy
early-
Peterson?
yeah,
or
Jim
somebody?
Peterson, yep.
And you ran out and saved the guy?
Yeah, we just made a right turn and saved him. Yeah.
I mean, how many people get to say they saved a life? Not a lot of people. That's pretty good. I mean, unless you're a first responder.
Right. And you ask a fireman how many lives they save.
Yeah.
Well, they don't even, it just goes right over their head because in some ways we feel obligated. That's our job.
It's the code of the sea.
Yeah,
That's how
even though we're just a fishing captain. But I think it's part of our duty. If we're out there, we're managing the sea, managing what's going on. We're the eyes and ears.
Yeah.
And we talked to the Coast Guard a few years ago when the Coast Guard was getting on us about there was once upon a time that we found a lot of floating marijuana out there.
Yeah.
Big bundles. And we reported to the Coast Guard. Well, they came down to the boat wanting to put us in jail. I was saying, hey, we're just telling you what we found out there.
Yeah, we didn't have anything to do with it.
So they interviewed all of us.
Why'd they want to put you guys
Well,
in jail?
not in jail, but they're like giving us the third
they're
right.
interrogating you.
Yeah, they're interrogating. I think, hey, we're just telling what we're seeing. Well, long story short, that stuff was out there floating around all year long, and we, from that point on, I'm not. Because next thing you know, they're thinking we're doing it.
Did you ever slide on one of those and the Dorado were all high?
No.
No? I mean, they're like a kelp patty, right?
In the beginning, it was funny. They're wrapped up in this cellophane. They're like 100-pound bundles, and near the end of the year, all barnacles growing to them.
Oh my God! Really?
Yes,
you think somebody would have grabbed? I mean,
well, we're talking 200 miles from offshore.
Oh, wait! Yeah, that's some remarkable stuff, man.
Yeah, it's not even worth not even worth getting in trouble with or even doing anything like that.
Yeah. So I mean, that's one thing about being on the water. Is that part of why you love being a captain? Like
Everybody's different.
All the crazy.
Everybody's
stuff, right?
different.
Yeah.
You guys go into work, they go to Starbucks, they go to work, sit on the desk, they come home, they
Same old.
same old. Our job is not like that. The only thing same on our boat, you have a cup of coffee. That's about it.
I gotta say one thing because I've been on boats before. Like I look at you, and I think to myself, "Oh, this is not over yet, so quit looking at your watch." I look at you and I think of you like, what a fisherman. Guy can catch fish, excellent fisherman. But the minute something goes down emergency-wise,
Right.
I'm amazed at how professional you guys are. Like if something were to happen on the Independence, you got it down what to do, right?
Yeah, I mean, we've had guys. I'd had 4 deaths on the boat. We've had guys with crash into the bulkhead and staple up their foreheads on the boat. We've had hooks, big hooks in hands and arms, and we have all the
It's amazing how well prepared you guys are. Because I like I say, I'm like glued on you as a fisherman, but you got to be more than that.
Yeah, you have to be almost everything. You got to have. I'm not an EMT, but we have just a little bit of training where we get a little line attain and we can do a little this and that. But we always seem to have a doctor on the boat when there's a problem.
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
Thank God.
Hopefully, it's not a doctor of philosophy.
Philosophy,
or
yeah.
Is there a doctor on the boat? Yeah, I've got my PhD in Shakespeare.
Yeah.
That doesn't help. Hey, do you remember the Fred Hall show? And I'm going to miss it this time, but back in my drinking days, and I got 10 years sobriety, March 14th, coming up on it, man. But
you drink your quota, huh?
Yeah, I did.
That's your quota.
I finished it up. I was thinking, I saw you walking by the other day. I go, I have some vague recollection of you and I. What you came by and I had a bottle of vodka behind the booth, right, or what?
I don't know what you had. All I know is I found a little hiding spot where we have little cocktails.
Oh my God, that was a nice hiding spot. Right?
Yeah,
Just behind the booth,
behind the curtain, and then you walk up these stairs and you have this bar.
Oh, that! I forgot about that. Yeah,
well, that's the time.
Oh my God!
So we go upstairs and we found out that
I told you about it.
That's the VIP lounge.
Follow me here, man.
We go up there and it was like carte blanche. Nobody's there, and you're overseeing the whole show.
The whole show. It was like you were removed from the madness,
right?
right?
That was fun. Yeah, we had a couple cocktails up there.
Oh my God!
Just to break away from the monotony for an hour.
I thought you were talking about. I had a bottle behind our booth, and there was a curtain before I had those. Big
booths,
I
think I remember that too.
You know what I did once? I was going back there and hitting it, and I freaking went back there, and I didn't want anybody to know, and drinking. I went back there and I freaking stepped on the curtain, and the whole effing curtain came down, and I'm standing there with a bottle like this with 400 people staring at me. What a dumbass I felt.
Well, that's probably when he finally checked himself into Betty Ford.
Pretty close.
I don't have a drinking problem.
Are you running short on time?
Sort of.
All right. Well, let me just. I want to transition into the bait thing real quick.
Okay, let's do that.
Just talk about bait, and then we'll get you out of here.
Right.
Bait. You're doing the bait thing now. What are your hours like? What's that like? You're taking care of Newport and San Pedro?
Right. It's a long story how we got started, but long story is we are San Pedro Bait Company. We have a boat called the St. Catherine, and St. Catherine supplies San Pedro and Newport Beach with live bait. We have 2 barges, one in Newport Beach entrance and one right here at San Pedro in Cabrillo Beach. Last year we bought another boat. We went up to Alaska. We bought a small crabber, and she'll hold twice the amount of bait that the St. Catherine holds, and we're getting her ready right now to make our life a little easier. And that's basically, it's a full-time job in the summer trying to think about every private boat and all these San Pedro's, LA Harbor, 22nd Street Landing, the overnight boats, the morning boats,
You're doing
the
all
twilight
of that?
boats. Where are they going to get their bait?
Oh my God!
We're at the top of the pyramid. It starts at the bait.
Yeah.
And then it goes from there. All of Newport Beach, all those yachts in Newport Beach, all those small boats, all the Thunderbird, the Freelance, the Patriot, all those boats.
It doesn't sound like you get a day off doing this, do you?
It's you got to carry and haul a lot of bait. You got to catch a bait at night. For the most part, we catch it daytime, but for the most part, nighttime is good because you outsmart them. A lot of times the bait does different things according to the moon, but a lot of times the bait in the daytime, if you find it great, if you set great, sometimes if you get the leader going the wrong direction, the whole school can get out. A lot easier. Nighttime, you find the school great, you put your net around it, you put a little light, and the fish get spooked with the light. So then they turn around, they go back in the net. So it's easier to train a fish to stay in your net at night. Daytime, the fish come out better because they're not as, they don't get freaked out because it's already daytime. So they ball up better. The scale, not as much scale loss, much better quality of bait in the daytime. Nighttime, you just got to be a little more gentle with the bait. Don't put as much light on the bait. And don't, it's little secrets that we have.
Interesting. What are your hours like when you're doing that?
Well, when we're actually hauling bait, it can be from 9 o'clock to 9 in the morning. Well, 9 at night to 9 in the morning kind of thing. Depends if I got to go to Newport or not. Newport's like 10 to 12-hour run. That's if everything goes good. And San Pedro only is like a 6 to 8-hour run if we do the San Pedro.
Who are the captains? Who does it?
Me,
yeah,
Mark,
and
Danny.
Us
3 own the bait company. And a lot of times Mark will run the boat, Danny will run the boat, I'll be on the deck. We just mix and match.
Yeah.
Be in the skiff, on the spool. You only got 4 crew members.
Is that hard work?
Hard work. It's one of those things. You got to know what to do when the time comes. If everything runs smooth, it's good. It's not as hard. But when you have a problem, that's when things can get tough.
Yeah.
Problems as in snagging your net on the bottom. There's a lot of situations. A net will roll up, I'm saying terms that you don't really know much about, but the net hits the bottom, and when you start bringing the net in, if the lead line starts rolling over the twine, now you got the big boa constrictor net coming up that you got to know how to get it out.
Yeah.
They can get really crazy out there. That's if you have no breakups, no snagging, net in the wheel. There's a lot of problems you can have on a bait boat. So having experience out there is very important.
All right. Do you have anything else? And I'm going to be patient this time because Steve, the last time I said, Philip, do you have another question?
Cuts
And then I
me
just
off
cut him
immediately.
off.
Just
So
cuts me
Do you
off.
have one last question? Because Strasser's looking at his watch, his phone, his wife's calling him. He's in trouble.
We're
He's
definitely.
got 4 tackle tips to do with Steve.
I know. We definitely need to have Strasser on.
Yeah, this is the great
because
news. You get to come back.
I really want to go in depth on that bait stuff. There's a lot of stuff that I don't know about that I'd love to talk about. There's not enough time today to get into, but we definitely need to have you back on, Paul.
Yeah, we'll do that.
No worries.
Before you run away and get behind the curtain at the Fred Hall show with me, how many guys can say that they've been behind the curtain with
That's
me
right.
at the Fred Hall show? Any phone numbers you want to give? Any for the independents
Well,
or anything like that?
Independent sport fishing is 619 area code 226 6006. That's to talk to Judy. But what you really want to do before you talk to Judy is get online. IndependenceSportFishing.com. That website we have basically explains everything.
Perfect.
You could even book online. But if you do book online, you still have to talk to Judy because of bunk assignment. Because, as you know, we have our 13 staterooms, and everybody booking someone where they're going to sleep is just as important as anything else. It's another thing in the road that we have to go through. A lot of people might have a knee injury, they can't go downstairs, they're old, they can't be on a top bunk. So bunk assignments is very important also.
Paul, this was everything I wanted it to be. You are so good, man. It's like I said at the very beginning, it's obvious to me why you've been such a success and built such an empire in this business. You're such a great guy. You're so knowledgeable.
Thank you, Phil.
It's been really great having you on. Thank you, man.
Thank you, Phil Jr.
Thank you, man.
Okay.
That was great.
All right. We will be back with another Friedman Adventures podcast in the very near future. I hope you enjoyed that with Paul. I certainly did. You can check us out at www.friedmanadventures.com. Follow us on Instagram. Follow us on Facebook. Don't forget Bass Bros, where you can catch some great videos and further podcasts with my sons, Philip and Patrick. Thanks again, everybody. Thanks, Paul.
Thank you. Bye-bye now.